But yeah, we'll go ahead and get things started. Welcome to our monthly webinar series we call Mazévo Connect. We're excited about this month's topic on our messaging functions that are in Mazévo. Before we do that and kind of get into our main topic for today, just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Brian Peck. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Mazévo, and I'm joined here by two of my colleagues. I've got Claire DeGroat, who helps me on the sales side here, and then I've got Dean Evans, who's our CEO. If you've been to previous Mazévo Connects, you probably recognize them. We've got a little bit smaller group than we normally do. Summer is our busiest time for implementations. We have a lot of folks that are getting started, so we typically have our trainers here that join us on these Mazévo Connects, but right now Joe's busy training folks as we speak, so he's not able to join today. And our other trainer, Wendy Newland, her husband surprised her for her birthday with a surprise trip to Europe, believe it or not. Talk about a nice present, huh? But she just found out, she didn't know where she was going, and she literally just found out today that she is heading to Paris for the opening of the Summer Olympics. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so we're excited for her there. Other announcements, we've had several new customers come on board since the last Mazévo Connect that we did about a month ago. So I wanted to just mention them, give a shout out to University of Washington. We've had several departments join on board to Mazévo over the last few months. The latest ones are the Office of Minority Affairs, Pack Forest, which I saw Terry was on here today. Welcome. And the College of Built Environments. Now, I'm no expert on colleges and things like that as far as different departments, but Built Environments was a new one for me. That's your architecture school, engineering, management, things like that. So anyways, welcome to those folks. Also welcome to Auburn University, the Harbert College of Business, and the Toronto Metropolitan University Student Center. So our friends up in Canada there. Also forgot to mention, I don't know if anybody's here from Stephen F. Austin State University. I forgot to mention them last month, so I'm giving them a little belated welcome to Mazévo. So anyways, just wanted to welcome those folks. So so the way we typically run these webinars, our topic today, we'll kind of be going through that for the first part of the presentation, and then at the end, we will definitely be open for Q&A and questions. Most of the time, people put their questions in the text chat that's part of Zoom, so feel free throughout the webinar. You can put your questions in there. But at the end, we will also have time for Q&A, and if it's easier just to ask your question verbally, you'll be able to unmute yourself then and ask your question that way. So our topic today is on messaging, and the way that we're going to go through this, I'm first going to give a little introduction on what messaging means to us here at Mazévo and kind of the history of it, why we put it in there, some of the benefits of it, things like that. When I'm done with that, then I'm going to turn it over to Dean, and he's going to go through the second part of the webinar, which is really showing you these functions in action. He's going to show you where to find messaging in your system, what you can do with it, some of the features with it and things like that. And then when he's done with that, for fun, I've got a little poll that we're going to run here for all of you on the call live today. And I've got just a short little poll on how you currently use text messaging or chat messages in your day-to-day job, because we're looking for feedback from folks, and this is a great opportunity for you to kind of weigh in on just how you use messaging and any thoughts and ideas on how to get more value out of that function there. So anyways, that's our plan. And so without further ado, I'll just go ahead and start us off here. And I don't have any slides for this. I just realized that I didn't have my normal introduction slide up for everybody to look at. So sorry about that, but you're not really missing anything there. Anyways, so just a little background on messaging and what that means in Mazévo. So when we started Mazévo back in 2019, this was actually one of the first features we started thinking about, because we we had a lot of background with EMS and just, we know obviously what that product did and everything, but we're thinking a lot about like, how do we kind of advance some of these event management tools that everybody's used to and bring those, kind of into today's age. And one of the things that we felt was missing in a lot of these tools was a messaging aspect, a text chat feature. And so if you look back at Mazévo, I mean, we had this in there early on. And the reason we wanted to put that in there is we know that a lot of your job, I mean, everybody, we all do, we live in email, day to day, but email is always disconnected from your main event management system, right? So it's like you're maybe talking to customers or colleagues through email, but a lot of times that information doesn't necessarily make it into your event management platform. And we were like, well, if we give people a chat option where they can chat either with their customers or with their colleagues and staff and things like that, then you can then capture some of that information and kind of centralize it a little bit more. And so that got us pretty excited, and that's where the idea kind of originally came from, because it is, once it's in Mazévo, it's easy to find. And we're going to show you this here. You can actually open an event and you'll be able to see a history of all the messages that have gone back and forth in there. So anyways, that's kind of what we wanted to do to keep everybody on the same page with it and kind of improve customer service and that kind of thing. Now, roll the clock forward. We have made some enhancements through time to our messaging. The biggest one recently was in the last year or so, we extended the ability, I should say, for messaging for you on the event side to message your operations staff. So those people who are maybe doing AV deliveries or catering or facilities, things like that, to be able to send them a quick message through Mazévo and again, have all that recorded. So that's kind of where things are at currently with our messaging function. And so today, the purpose is to kind of show you how to access those functions and what those are, and then also find out from those of you that if anybody on the call is using messaging, to get some of your feedback as well. One of the things we've noticed is that this particular feature doesn't have a super high adoption rate. And maybe some of you can weigh in today and tell us, maybe why that is, or give us some clues, whether it's, missing some functions or features that you think you need in there, or, maybe whatever it is. So anyways, that's kind of where things are with it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Dean Evans, and he's going to share his Mazévo system and give you a tour of the messaging functions.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I've shared my screen, and I am in here as a global administrator, and we're just going to kind of poke around and see where these messages show up. Again, kind of just starting at the beginning of this, the messaging was originally created to go between an event planner and a requester so that they could send messages back and forth. And our idea was, if you wanted to gather additional information from the requester, or if the requester had a last minute request, they could send a message into the event planning team. So we're going to come back to this, but the primary place where you could see it is under this alert bell, but there's a whole bunch of other places that you can see the messaging. So what I want to do is go into, I'll just start with find events, and I'm going to go to tomorrow. Well, I'll go here and pull up the events. There's one that I want to kind of pull up here, and it's this weave session. So a couple of things. If I click on that, that's going to open up the event editor. But if I wanted to see the chat, you probably wondered, well, what is this other icon at the end of this? So if you click on that, that's going to go to a special messaging tool that we have that just about anybody on the event planning staff and the operations staff can get to this screen here. So what it did is it opened up the messaging on this event, and it's at the event level, not at the booking level. And if anybody's ever used Slack, we have these different channels, and I'll go into this more in a little bit, but this is all event planners talking back and forth to Claire. Now, Claire is the requester, the primary contact on this event. So here's a message that Claire has sent in to the event planning staff, and I've opened this up. Now again, I would be alerted under that bell, but we've already kind of set the stage here. So Claire's sent in a message. Hey, can I change the number of people and I need to add some water? And I can just say, sure, I'll take care of that. So when I send that back to her in a moment, it's not necessarily instantaneous. It can take up to a minute. She'll see, if she's sitting on her event, she'll see this message appear. If she's not sitting on her event, so think of her as the requester, if she doesn't, if she's not in Mazévo, what'll happen is after about 2 minutes, Mazévo will pick that up, that unread message up, and send Claire an email. So we send emails only to the requesters because we don't think they're going to be in there enough to sit there and wait for you to respond to something. So we send an email saying, hey, you have an unread message. And they can click a link in that email and come back into Mazévo to see it. But this is kind of what it looks like. It's just the back and forth, like just your standard text messaging. It is not using standard text messaging like the SMS stuff on your phone. So there's no charges, there's no setup. It's all going through the software here. So that's one, this is the first kind of thing I wanted to show you is what does this messaging screen look like? And we'll come back to this several times throughout the presentation here. So I was on Find Events and I clicked that messaging icon. So kind of keep an eye on that. You'll see that icon in other places. But if I open up the event in the event editor, I actually have a tab here that has messaging on it. And so if I click on that tab, you'll see those same messages back and forth. And then here you've got Claire. She's already responded to me with a thank you. So here's another place that you can get to that messaging. You're probably going to use this tab the most if you're in messaging, but just be aware that you could get to this dialogue from any of the tools. Okay, so that's one way to do it right here. So I'm going to come back to that. I just want to show you the other places that you can find the messaging. So if I go to the event book, we actually have it here. And then here's that same event. And again, from here, you're not going to know that there's messaging on it. But if you wanted to send the messaging, you wanted to send Claire a note, you can open messaging from here. And lo and behold, it takes us right back to that same messaging window that's open. So there's really the two primary windows, this one and the one off of the editor under the message tab. So there's quite a few tools that'll get there. So the main ways you can get to it, you can open the event, you can use Find Events, you can use the event book. And then if you're in operations, you can use Manage Operations to get to it as well. So I'm going to scroll out to tomorrow, and that's where that event is. And again, there's that chat icon. So if I click right here, again, takes us back to that one common screen. So as an operations person, I can also see, I'm in here as an administrator, so I can see both the event planning and the operations messages here. But if I was strictly an operations person, I'd only see other things that were addressed directly to me. So it's just because I'm in operations, I don't get to see all the chit chat back and forth to the planner. So and as an operations person, I can only send messages to event planners and to other operations people. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in a moment. I cannot send messages directly to the requester as an operations person, only as a planner. So this is kind of what it would look like through the process. So let me kind of come back out here and go to the main menu. The other thing I want to show you is up here is this alert bell. And what it's going to do is I've got messages here that I've already read, but you can show and hide old messages. So if I want to see some old ones, You'll see those there. And then if you want to show ones that you've already read, you can click on that. Now, what'll happen is because the requester is talking to the event planning team, meaning any event planner that can open the event, um, each event planner is going to see the message under this alert bell, and each one of them would individually mark it as read. Now, there's no magical formula to mark it as read. You basically open the message, and that will flag that message as being read by you. And the other event planners would still have an unread message in their queue. So this is really the queue of messages that you would have here. So that is kind of the basics of it. So what I want to do now is kind of go back in as an event planner, and I'm going to send Brian a note here. And I'm also going to so Brian's going to be kind of our operations person. So if I come to messaging here, now I can do this from this screen or the one that I've been showing you. You've kind of got to pay attention to what's highlighted here. So if I send a message here right now, that is going to go to Claire. If I want to send a message to Brian, I can start a conversation with any of these other Mazévo users. And we're kind of showing you what their permissions are. So Joey Robinson's an event planner and in operations. And if I come up here to the top, this is the one I want to use for this example. Brian's an event planner and he's in operations. This just happens to be his admin account. So if I want to start a conversation with another user, all I do is select that user and hit start. And now it's created this channel, if that's what you want to call it, for people using Slack. These are like channels, very similar to that. And I can say, Brian, can you add some extra chairs? And now Brian, in a second, his alert bell would light up, alerting him that he would have a message there. And then he'll get that. He may respond, he may not, but that's how you can add messaging to other people in your system. You also have the ability to bring in other people into this conversation. So if I want to add more people to this, I can actually come in here and I'll go add Joey to this conversation. And now all of a sudden there's three of us in here. So you're kind of creating a group chat kind of environment here. So the three of us right here would be talking on this individual chat message, channel. So that's just kind of what you can see there. So as you go in here, you're only going to see channels that you're tied to. You're not going to see conversations to other people's conversations, only the ones that you're a participant in. So that's what that would look like right there. Now, if I've got another event here that I want to open up. So I'm going to go in and I've got an event here that I am in as a requester. So I want to kind of role play where the requester would see this. So here's my lunchtime chess practice. That's my event for Dean Evans, and it's in request mode. So when I open that up, you'll see this is how the requester would send messages. They've got bookings and they've got messages. So you'd click here, and now notice they don't have that whole channel thing that you just saw. They don't have a choice. When I send a message here, it's going to go back to all of the event planners simultaneously. I need some water. So when I send that, that's going to go off. And if we open this event now as an event planner, we would see that. But again, I'm sending this message kind of to myself, so you're not going to see that alert bell light up. But in general, that's kind of the overview of how you would get to those messages. One thing to note, a view-only event planner. So a view-only event planner can use Find Events, the event book, in the calendar. they're not able to open an event and participate in the messaging concepts. So they wouldn't have access to those tools. So let's see, what else have I got here? Um, if you wanted to find out, if you opened up an event, it's like, how do I know somebody else has responded to that? Well, when you go into these events, you'll see on that messaging tab, right? So here's the messaging between Claire and the event planners, and you'll see the history of that, whoever responded. Then if I go here, I can see that Brian's actually responded to that. So you can look at this and see has somebody else picked it up. So let's say Claire asked for some extra chairs. You could go in there and look, and you'll see the message right there in front of you that she's responded. So we kind of talked about emails. So as a requester, if I don't respond to a message, again, after a couple of minutes, we automatically send an email, but we don't do that for operations and event planners. Love to have feedback on that. If you think that would be important, we could do that. I know a lot of people love to operate through um, email, but there, if you really use this, there'd be a high volume of emails that you could actually be receiving. So what happens is when we send that notification to the requester, we just send it one time. Hey, Claire, do something, right? So she'll get that one message saying you have unread messages in Mazévo. That's it. We're not going to nag Claire to answer that. We just send one message and there it is. So within that 2-minute window, if Claire jumps in and looks and answers, she's not going to receive an email. So it's only after a few minutes of inactivity that we would send that to her. So usually if Claire was in there, she's not going to get an email in addition to seeing the message. So I think that's all I wanted to show you. Brian, did I miss anything there?
I think that was it. That's looking at my outline, so it should be everything there.
Okay.
Um, so thank you, Dean. Now, just a reminder for folks, if you do have questions on anything that Dean had, you can put your questions in the Zoom chat. So, all these chat windows and everything we're talking about here. So put your questions in the Zoom chat there. We'll see them that way and we can respond to them. The other thing I wanted to do is I actually created a little Zoom poll because we would love, for those of you on the call, we would just love to get your feedback on how you're currently using these kind of chat functions and things like that in your day-to-day job and get some feedback. So I'm going to launch this. I haven't done this a lot in the past, so I'm going to go ahead and let me relaunch this thing. So we'll give you there's just a handful of questions in here. Let's see, there we go. And you should now have on your screen a little Zoom window that just popped up with some questions on there. And so it looks like there's about 11 questions. I'll give you about 3 minutes, 4 minutes to answer those. If you wouldn't mind, just go ahead and put your response in there. With that, that would just help us kind of gather some feedback from those of you here today. And then I'll share those with everybody once we get your responses in here. So I'll give you just a couple of minutes to put those in. Dean, do you have the Jeopardy music queued up or anything for
Don't
this
have the
nice?
Jeopardy music. I should have for
Yeah,
a nice touch.
yeah. You want to sing a ballad or anything for us while we're waiting, or
Nobody really wants to hear me sing, Brian.
okay, okay, just yeah. We can just sit here in awkward silence too. That's
yeah.
totally fine. Oh,
Okay, we're getting. I see a few people have answered.
yeah. I did see Katie's comment down here that she thinks an email to the event planner when a new message comes in would be great. So
Yeah.
there's some feedback there.
Okay.
Thank you, Katie. While we're waiting too, I noticed at least one person on here from MIT. That's another new Mazévo customer. So welcome to MIT and I think University of Georgia. I saw some folks there. So welcome. I know they're also new. So, all right. Give this about one more minute. Thanks to those of you that have answered. Looks like we've had about 11 people submit their answers so far. It's kind of fun to watch the answers roll in.
And of course, they want to give us feedback. Look at that, 63%.
Love it. Yes.
Okay.
Still see some of you are submitting, so give it a few more seconds here. University of North Dakota is here today. Welcome. All right. I think we've got most of the responses.
All right.
There's another, oh, a couple more. As I said that, they're just coming in. So I know a few of those require a text answer, so it's probably taking a minute to put your answer in there. Thank you, though, for this feedback because this is already, I can tell, going to be helpful for us just to kind of get a little bit of feedback here. And yeah, all right. Well, I think we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. So I'll hit the end poll right here, and I'm going to share these results with everybody just so you can kind of see them. It should pop up on your screen. If you're curious how other people answered this, you can see that the big majority always use some kind of messaging tool or sometimes use it. So you can tell it is becoming more and more of our daily jobs. I know for me and Dean and Claire, we use chat constantly. We're a remote company anyways, so that's one of the ways that we stay in touch with each other, but we use that all the time. Teams chat looks like the big winner as far as what people use out there. A couple of you did answer the Mazévo messaging. Excellent. Good to see that. And yeah, that's kind of what I expect for how important this is to your job. I know it's important for my job using chat, so that's pretty good. And yeah, a lot of you didn't know about the chat function in Mazévo, so that's good to know too, because that's one of the reasons we're doing this webinar is to kind of promote this to people, give you some information on how it might help. And a lot of you are interested in it. That's great to see. And then we've got some details here, which we'll churn through later on just ideas for us. So thank you for sharing your ideas with that. And thank you too for those of you that are happy to give us more feedback. So great stuff there. So thank you for that. So I'll just kind of throw it out to the group. Does anybody have any, based on what you've seen so far, or if you've tried experimenting with messaging in Mazévo, or you've started using it, anybody want to share any feedback that you have for us on, like it, don't like it, anything like that? This is a great opportunity to kind of share that, or also open it up to questions as well in there. So I don't know, Dean, if we have any questions that have come in on the chat there.
Just one, is the recording going to be shared? And the answer is yes.
Yep. Yeah, I usually send those out. It'll probably go out like earlier next week. So
question?
Yeah, sure. Gigi.
I tried to put it in the chat and I'm a fairly new user. If we send a message, does it tell us that that message has been read? Like
No,
if I send a message to a requester,
Oh,
is there a way of me knowing, like, if I say, hey, you're over capacity, can I confirm that they did read that message?
no, it's not that fancy. It doesn't tell you
Okay.
that they read it, right?
Okay.
So
And that's perfect. Thank you.
yeah.
any other questions or things that you'd like to see us put in there? One comment that we heard over the years is people didn't necessarily want to open it up to requesters. They only wanted to use it internally on the event planning staff and maybe between operations. And believe it or not, we heard the one of the reasons was they didn't want to be that available to their broader customer base. Because again, there might be some implied timing or response rate. If I send you a message as a requester, I'd expect an immediate answer. Um, and so we just if anybody has any thoughts on that, would love to hear it. I know we've had one customer ask for the ability for the operations staff to be able to communicate directly to the requester. And we kind of thought, well, if this is the person pushing around tables and chairs and delivering catering, are they really going to communicate to the end customer? And so again, if you have any thoughts on that, I mean, Katie, I know you guys do just a ton of catering, but would you want, the delivery person doing for the catering, um, texting the requester? I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there as something. So, but
This is Loretta from UT Arlington.
uh-huh.
I don't see, let me, I'm so used to Teams. I have to figure the Zoom out. So when I go to my like Mazévo page, I
Uh-huh.
don't see the messaging option. Is that because maybe I don't have permission? Like, is
Well,
that,
are you a global administrator? Now, here's the other thing we can do. We can turn on and off this messaging capability for each customer. And so
uh-huh,
somebody may have asked us to turn it off for UT Arlington. Now we can certainly turn it back on,
right.
but just kind of keep that in mind. I'll kind of quickly check here
Yeah,
and
I
see
don't know. I mean, I've only been in this role about 4 months. So, but when I go to look at the main menu, I don't see the messaging option.
okay. Yeah, let me take a quick look and see.
Do you see
Uh,
the little bell up in the corner there on your screen? It's kind of by your initials over on the far
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I
yeah, it
see
looks
the
like
bell.
it's turned off for your installation.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
So
So then
I
that's
mean,
something I would check with my supervisor with
yeah,
then.
just check and we can turn it on. It's really super easy for us to turn on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank
But
you.
yeah,
Yep.
it's kind of on for everybody when we turn it on, so the requesters would see it. Um, and that's the other thing. I mean, maybe we need to be more granular there. So, I'm just again looking for any kind of feedback. I mean, if you don't want it for requesters, we could set something up, change the software to make it only internal and not external to the customers. So,
Yeah. Um, and for anybody that's curious too, it should be automatically on for the majority of your accounts. This is not something that's turned off by default. So it's on for everybody unless you've come to us or somebody in your organization has come to us and said, yeah, we want to get this turned off. So you all should, again, the majority of you should have it turned on there. So. Um, that is a question too. Just we would love any feedback and feel free to put this in the Zoom chat or unmute yourself as well. But where do you see this being used most often? And I'm specifically talking to everybody here, either if you're already using the chat in Mazévo or you're thinking about it, where do you think it would be used most often? Between you and your customer, the requester, or between you and other staff members, kind of as a communication tool that way? That's one thing too we were trying to kind of figure out is like, what is and it could be both, right? It's like maybe it's important for both of those, but I was just curious if you see one of those being more important than the other that way.
Hi, this is Elise from Bucknell. We are actually getting officially Mazévo next week. So
Yeah,
haven't
welcome.
had the opportunity to use it quite yet, but I know our staff is just excited to use the messaging part because a lot of times we're back and forth with people who are planning the events, and that's through email and things kind of get lost. So we're excited to have that as an option, just to talk directly and have that information within the reservation itself. So I'm very excited for that, and I'm hoping everyone else uses it the way I think they will. But yes.
Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. That's great. Yeah, I'm seeing some messages here in the Zoom chat as well, people talking about using it between customers and staff. It definitely seems to be an important one there. So.
Okay.
Any other thoughts or comments or feedback for us? Abigail's got a good question here.
That's really good.
Yeah. And getting users to see and respond to messages. So yeah, that's one thing too. I guess and we don't have a good feel for this right now of like how many messages you're sending out to customers that they're actually responding to. Because that's kind of what you're getting at there is like, are they actually going to see this and respond to it? Things like that. I don't think we have any good measurements for that to know how much is that happening. Today, what we've done currently is we have the one email that goes out. So when you send a message to your customer, they will get an email that says, hey, go check Mazévo for your message that way. But that's kind of the extent of it. So there is probably a lot more we could do there to encourage them to respond. We want to walk the line of, you don't want to nag them too hard about it, but you do need to make sure the message is received, right? So yeah, that don't really have additional advice unless somebody else on the call here has something they want to share with that.
Yeah. Yeah, Loretta, that's kind of one of the things that we thought this messaging, I mean, because we show it to all the event planners, when you open an event in the event editor, you can see all of that dialogue back and forth, and it's not outside in your email system, and then you're having to forward that in. Now, although you have the ability you can forward emails into Mazévo and they're recorded on the event. We can certainly talk about that later, but that's another option. So, but yeah, we just thought just keeping that communication central for everybody would help foster better communication. So.
There you go. That's an idea. So Abigail put in there, hey, a way for somebody to like a message. I noticed that's in Outlook now. I know not everybody probably has Outlook. Maybe Google does this too, but I've noticed there's a feature I can give a thumbs up or put a little emoji when I get a message from somebody rather than typing a full-on reply. So your comment reminds me of that. That's a good idea. So you asked that as a question, though. There is no way to do that today, but it's a good idea. No, we don't have a template. This is from Sydney in the chat to use to help clients navigate or help us advertise the messaging feature. No, we've talked about that, though, that, some of the adoption of this feature definitely kind of falls on us as the creator of Mazévo. There's things we can do in the Mazévo app, and many of you have probably seen them, where when you log in, you get a little helpful tip or something like that. We've talked about actually doing that on the messaging side to encourage people and let them know, hey, you have this tool here that's at your disposal to use. There's definitely more we could do there. Now, this also, Sydney, your question also reminds me, we do have a communications guide that we put together. It's more, though, it's not directly related to what you're asking about, but it's we put it together for customers that are moving to Mazévo from another system. So if you're getting ready to switch to Mazévo, we actually have a guide that will walk you through some tips on how to communicate this switch to your organization or your campus. So it's just got, a few email templates, a few ideas on how to get the word out about, hey, we're using Mazévo now as our main scheduling system, things like that. If anybody wants a copy of that, you can either send me an email, which I think you all have my email, or put it in the chat right now that you'd like a copy. I'll get you a copy of it. But it's got some ideas in there. But this, we could definitely do something similar, probably for the chat function as well, and how to get that out there. So, yeah. Yep. Sydney, Elise. Yeah, I'll get you all a copy of that here when we're done. So, yeah, perfect. All right. Yep, I see your responses here. So, excellent. Yeah. That's another good idea. Abigail, we're gonna have to yeah, we'll get you on the product team here before you know it. So but yeah.
You could put like a header, right? And just put
yeah.
put it in the header.
Yeah, there's probably
for questions,
other
bunch
ways
of places.
to incorporate that with the confirmation, because the confirmation does go out as a link. So I don't know, maybe there's something we could do. We could definitely research that there. Kind of see. That's also too one of the questions on my poll that I put up there for everybody. I haven't read through all the details on them yet, but we are looking for folks that are, going to be using the chat or already are in Mazévo that we can ask questions to, because we need, one of the things we don't like to do at Mazévo is build things in a vacuum without customer input, because we can sit here all day long and think we have the best ideas in the world. And then when we put it in front of customers, it can be like, what are you smoking there? So it's, we don't want to put ourselves in that position. And I think that the messaging function is one of those areas where it's like, it's ripe for us to have some more dialogue with folks that way. So, yeah. Right. Oh, Blaine's got a question here.
Oh, just kind of a
templates. Remember that idea, Dean?
Yep.
Yeah.
We actually had that in the very early releases.
Very, very early days, we were kind of going down that path of having just some templated questions that you find yourself asking over and over again. That kind of lost out to the chat that we have today, but yeah, you may be onto something there. because yeah, if you're asking the same questions over and over, give you an easy tool to do that, right? It kind of reminds me, we've had something that's kind of bubbled up on our roadmap a few times of collecting more information from customers. This kind of falls under that umbrella, messaging does there. But we've thought about, how could you make a task for a customer? Hey, you've got to get us this form back by such and such a date. Ways to manage that in Mazévo, things like that. If anybody has any thoughts on that stuff, or likes that idea, doesn't like it, whatever, it's something that we've heard come up from time to time, but something we've thought about there is collecting more information from customers, giving you more tools to do that, that kind of thing. So it is something we're interested in possibly looking at. So. Requesting documents back from, yes. Yeah, there's something there. We think that appears to be something that's a need, that's, I wouldn't say it's probably universal, but it's up there, right? It's like you don't just need them to tell you this is what I want to do and when. You're going to need more information from them at some point, and how can you more easily collect that from people is the question. So, yeah. All right. Well, things are kind of slowing down here with the chat, so I don't want to keep everybody too long. We ended a few minutes early here, but I do want to thank everybody that joined us here today. Thank you for your feedback. This has been very helpful. I hope this has been helpful. And please do continue to share your feedback with us. You're always welcome to drop us an email or something like that and let us know how things are going, because this is something we have our eye on. And yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting things we could be doing with this in the future. So thanks everybody for joining. Keep your eyes open for next month's Mazévo Connect topic. I'll be sending that out here shortly. And yeah, everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.